The tale of the last bus stop. There's a story people whisper about on cold, foggy nights. A story of a bus that runs its route long after the rest of the world has gone to sleep. And if you're unlucky enough to be on it, you may never come back. A late-night journey. Maria had always heard the warnings. Never take the midnight bus that runs through Ravenswood. But on this particular night, with no other way home, she found herself standing at the stop, cold and alone. The bus creaked to a halt, and she stepped aboard. The driver, a gaunt man with hollow eyes, didn't say a word. He simply nodded and closed the doors behind her. The air inside was colder than it was outside. Maria took a seat near the front, the fog outside swallowing up the streetlights as the bus lumbered forward. She was the only passenger, or so she thought. The whispering shadows. As the wheels rolled on, a sound like a faint whisper brushed her ears. She turned, expecting to see someone behind her. Empty seats stared back. Just my imagination, she told herself. But when she looked out the window, her breath caught in her throat. A handprint, smeared and wet, had appeared on the glass of the window across the aisle. It hadn't been there before. Her heart pounded. The bus rattled forward, the fog thickening until it felt like they were driving through a wall of smoke. A new passenger. Suddenly, the bus jolted. When Maria turned around again, someone was sitting 2 rows behind her. A man. He was pale, his face blank and eyes hidden in shadow. His clothes dripped with moisture, as though he had just stepped out of a lake. Maria's throat went dry. She hadn't heard him get on. She hadn't seen him in the aisle. The whisper came again, louder this time. It seemed to be coming from him, the wrong stop. Her fingers tightened around her bag. She glanced at the driver in the mirror, but he stared straight ahead, his expression empty. The bus slowed. It stopped in front of a dense black forest. No street signs, no lights, just endless trees. The doors hissed open. The driver spoke for the first time. End of the line. Maria's voice trembled. But this isn't my stop. He didn't answer. He simply waited. When she turned back to the figure behind her, the seat was empty, but the handprint had moved. It was now on her window, red and dripping. A whisper in the fog. Maria didn't step off the bus. She couldn't. But the driver turned to her, his eyes hollow and distant. This is your stop now. The fog seemed to reach inside, curling around her like fingers pulling her away from the world she knew. The bus doors closed. It rolled back into the fog, leaving only silence. No one ever saw Maria again. But on certain nights, if you stand by the Ravenswood stop, you might hear the